It's July 10th, 2017, and you're watching Life Talk. I'm Mark Crutcher.
And I'm Renee Hobbs. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, Renee, we got three things going on in the abortion battle today that are pretty interesting. First off, in Missouri, there's a new bill has been introduced there that would make it a crime for an abortion clinic to that has a patient that's either dead or dying or injured in some way,
right,
to tell the ambulance to come without the lights and sirens. Now, most people would probably think this is an unnecessary bill because they say, well, no medical professional would do that.
How can you tell somebody to do that?
Right.
Is the question. How can you request that and then follow through with it?
And, well, most of them don't. Most of the emergency personnel said, you don't tell us when we come with lights and siren. We have actually heard tapes. Troy Newman, Operation Rescue, has filed Freedom of Information Act request to get some of these 911 calls. We have actually heard tape recordings of these 911 calls where they're saying, the abortion clinic is saying, we have a woman here who's in very bad shape and she's hemorrhaging. We need help now.
Yeah.
Come without
ahead.
the lights and sirens.
And go to the back.
And go to the back. So
we don't want to make any kind of
ruckus.
We don't want people to know what's going on.
Right.
Well, Mary, what is her name? Mary Kogut. She's the president of Planned Parenthood in St. Louis. She says that this language has nothing to do with the health and safety of the woman.
Right.
Has nothing to do with that. And that we are just trying to trap the providers so that we can trip them up and shut down the clinics. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do.
That's what we've been trying to do since day one.
But this has everything in the world to do with the safety and the health of these women. Everything.
Right. First off, let me ask you this question. And any 3-year-old knows the answer to this. Why does an emergency vehicle have lights and sirens?
Yeah,
so
right.
Because
they can get there faster. It's an emergency.
Right.
They've got to move people out of the way. They have to get there, and that was another thing. Is if they don't have the lights and sirens on, people don't know it's an emergency. They won't move out of the way.
Right.
The ambulance is stuck. They can't get through.
And any emergency personnel will tell you that when someone is in a critical trauma situation like that, literally every second matters.
Yes,
so the difference between an ambulance getting there in 1 minute and in 3 minutes can mean the difference between life and death for that woman.
Absolutely.
And yet these people are saying, we don't want you to come with lights and sirens. We've heard this time and time and time again.
Right.
This is almost a standard operating procedure for these abortion clinics.
Right.
But here's another thing that this does, Renee. The opposition to this bill and the things these people are saying proves, once again, something you and I have always known, we've talked about here many times. These people don't care about women. They don't care about the health and safety of these women. Their rhetoric about this is simply a sales tool. It's a sales and marketing gimmick. That's what it is. And if you think that these people care about these women, all you've got to do is read the stuff they're saying about their opposition to this bill. And what's interesting is, says this Mary Kogut person that you're talking about, that's a degenerate from Planned Parenthood, was saying there are times when we may have asked that a siren wasn't on so that it didn't alarm other people. Didn't alarm other people. So whoever they might be worried about alarming, people on the street or people walking by.
Right.
Or maybe, could it be, they don't want to alarm the women sitting in the waiting room who know one of their fellow patients might be dead or dying.
Right, and that fear that they're going to lose business and the killing of their child because of this.
Right, that's what this is about.
That is exactly what it's about.
They don't care if you alarm other people.
Right.
What they care about is alarming those other patients who might say, hey, give me my money back, I'm out of here. I thought this was safe and you just killed somebody, or you just put her in a nursing home, or you just sent her to the emergency room hemorrhaging. That's who they're worried about alarming. That's the only people they're worried about alarming.
Yes. Thank you, Mary.
Right, for confirming everything.
For your sales pitch and caring so awfully much. We appreciate it.
Right, that's great. Okay, in Arkansas, now there's another example of the lies these people will tell.
Absolutely. This is very misleading.
There's a headline on this newspaper. Arkansas wants you to ask your rapist permission before you can get an abortion.
Yeah, this is from the Mary Sue.
From Mary Sue, I guess it's some sort of website or
it's just a liberal
leftist pro-abortion
media.
Arkansas is considering a bill called the Tissue disposal mandate, HB 1566.
Mm-hmm.
And what it says is that when someone's having an abortion, both parties responsible for the creation of that baby
Right.
can have a right to have an input into how the body of the baby is disposed.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that the woman has to get the permission of her husband or boyfriend or whatever, rapist, whoever. It doesn't say that. It says they both have a right to have input into how the baby
Right.
is disposed of.
Right, and the person that got her pregnant can take her to court. That means that's prolonging the abortion, which is good because I guess in Arkansas, if she goes over 22 weeks, then that's the cutoff
Right.
age, and so
maybe some babies will be saved.
yeah, maybe some baby. And this bill is, and honestly, it really is a disgusting bill if you really think about it. But because they're trying to decide what's going to happen with the fetal tissue.
Well, here's the thing that I think one of the problems that they have is, with this bill is it forces the woman to think about what she's doing. If she's having to tell them, here's how I want the body disposed of, then she's having to confirm
Right.
that it's a body,
Yeah.
that there is going to be a body to,
Right.
to dispose of.
Yeah.
So that's what opposition to this is.
Yeah.
And this argument that they're making wants you to ask your rapist permission before you can get an abortion. If you want to see what an out-and-out lie this is, a pathological lie, and these people are pathological liars, this woman, Mary Kate Jasper, who wrote this article, ask her if she'd be okay with the bill if there was a rape exception. In other words, the rapist doesn't have, if the woman claims she was raped, then she alone can make the decision about how the baby
Right.
is. And I'll guarantee you, their opposition to this would not change
Right.
one iota.
Right, because she's for women.
This is a
Right.
red herring.
Right.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
It's, the pro-aborts are really good at setting up what I call straw man arguments. They'll say, here's what the pro-lifers say, and here's the response to that, or here's what the pro-lifers are trying to do, and here's the response to that. When in reality, we're not saying that, and we're not trying to do that. Right. So they set up these straw man arguments and then knock them over. But these people are pathological liars. Nobody is saying you have to get your rapist permission to do anything.
Right.
No way do you have to get your rapist permission.
Right, and not just that, but isn't it really, really low that somebody gets raped and is actually pregnant? I mean, this would be a Rebecca Kiesling question for sure, but
Oh, you mean the percentages?
the percentage,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a
right.
very, very low percentage.
So what they're saying here is, and I suspect that among all the women that they do abortions on in Arkansas, they're no different. I suspect their statistics are no different than national statistics, which show less than 1/2 or 1% of all women who have abortions were pregnant through rape. Yeah. So they're going to try to take away the rights of 99% of, say, the husbands, the boyfriends, or whoever it might be, the significant other in this woman's life. They're going to take away all their rights over the issue of rape. This is typical of what they do. They try to, what they're really doing here, if you think about it for a minute, Renee, they're exploiting women who've been raped. They're going to use them and their tragic situation to justify all abortion in Arkansas. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's what the pro-aborts are doing nationally.
Hopefully, if this does go through the HB 1566, then where both parties have to agree, then it's a poster child state, and that it'll happen in the other states, because right now, if a man finds out that his girlfriend or his wife is going to have an abortion, he has absolutely no say-so in the matter whatsoever. None. And so this does give him a say-so.
And again, you go back to the same thing we've talked about before. How do you go from a situation where here's a woman that's pregnant, and if she decides to give birth to that baby as a live baby, then that man is on the hook for it, right? And he well should be. But if she decides to give birth to a dead baby, in other words, have an abortion, he has nothing to say about it.
Yeah, he has nothing to do with it. And as a matter of fact, I got a phone call the other day from a lady that had a question. You were, I think, out. But she said that she had a client that they were just talking on the phone, and the daughter or the girl that was pregnant and the mother were bound and determined to abort this child, and the son and his mother wanted to keep the baby, and they were so incredibly upset that there was nothing that they could do. I mean, besides go to the abortion clinic and stand in the waiting room and hopefully yank her out when she comes in. But
yeah, but in that case, and this is exactly what I'm saying. In that case, the pro-abort's position is that man has no rights. What he wants is irrelevant. But if that woman decides to give birth, then he's on the hook for 18 years worth of child support. How can you go from having no rights to having half the responsibility for that child?
Yeah.
And it's obscene what these people do and the positions that they take. But, you know, we get a lot of those calls.
Yeah, we do.
We get a lot of calls from men whose wives are going to have babies, that are going to have abortions of babies that they created. And we get a lot more of these where some young male has been in a sexual relationship with a young female, and she's gotten pregnant, like you say. She and her mother and her grandmother and everybody else in the world is hell-bent to have this abortion.
Right.
And we've had situations, we tried to help this young man and his mom a few years ago. They were willing, the mother, the father, and this baby's father, their son, was willing to sign a statement up front absolving her of any responsibility. You just give birth to this baby, and we will take the baby. We will take full financial responsibility, everything.
Exactly.
Walk away.
Right.
We'll let you relinquish your parental rights right now.
Right.
They won't do it.
So sad.
Because what's most important here is that baby gets killed.
Yeah.
And they can sit here and say all they want to. Well, she's too young to take care of a baby. Well, she doesn't have to take care of a baby.
Right.
You know what the deal is? It's not that she doesn't want to have a baby. It's that she doesn't want to be pregnant.
Right.
That's the deal.
Right. That's the control. My
Now,
body, my choice.
We've talked before about this thing called ectogenesis.
Yes.
Where they are working on the ability to have an artificial womb that a baby could be raised in. They say that's way down the road, if ever. But they say that it's very likely that we'll be able to have artificial placenta, which could help and there's new documentation, some new medical research out on this, saying that you could have artificial placenta, which would help babies that are premature or that maybe the placenta's not developing, but the baby's okay other than it needs the placenta. And so more babies could be saved by this. The pro-aborts are very concerned about how this deals with the abortion issue because
they should be.
It changes what they claim is viability.
Yes.
Now, in my view, it doesn't change a thing because I think we have irrefutable biological, scientific, medical proof right now that the unborn child is viable from the moment of fertilization. And you say, well, how is that possible? 30 seconds after fertilization, if you take that baby out of the womb and just leave him, he'll die, all right? And that's true. But if he was not alive, then in vitro fertilization wouldn't be possible because there's a gap in time between the fertilizing of that egg and the time it's implanted in the mom, right? So during that gap in time, that baby's capable of surviving, or it wouldn't.
Right.
If it were not capable of surviving during that time, then in vitro fertilization would not be possible.
Right.
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 The reason that baby's put into if the fertilization occurs in a petri dish, let's say, and then it's put into the mother, it's because medical science hasn't developed the technology yet to keep it alive during that gap between then and say 20 weeks or whatever, right? But that time keeps on going down because viability is a function of medical technology. It's not a function of the baby.
Right.
We're keeping babies alive today that 100 years ago had no chance of survival.
Oh, absolutely.
But the babies aren't any different.
Right.
It's medical technology that's different. And also that technology varies from one country to the next. If you have a medically advanced country like the United States or Great Britain or someplace like that, Australia, Germany, then you have a better chance of having early-term babies survive than if you're in the Congo, let's say, or some country that doesn't have advanced medical care. So it has nothing to do with the babies. It has to do with the technology.
Right.
And again, I would argue that from a philosophical standpoint, we now have proof that viability occurs at the moment of fertilization, or in vitro fertilization wouldn't be possible, right? But the pro-aborts, of course, are very worried about this. You know, something we've talked about on the show many times, and I wrote about it in Siege, is the fact that every piece of technology that's come along since Roe versus Wade has favored our side. everything. Sonogram is the big thing.
Right.
But we're on the very cusp right now of some other technology. This would be one of them. But other things like the ability to have holograms, be able to do a hologram sonogram on a woman, and she sees her baby floating in the air outside her womb, the baby that she's carrying right that second.
Right.
That's happening. That's going to happen. 3D printers, they're going to be able to do sonograms of babies. I'm not sure they couldn't do it right now. Take sonogram picture images of an unborn child and print off a copy of that baby on a 3D printer. And that wouldn't be just a generic baby. It would be the baby this woman is carrying. This sort of technology...
So weird to think of.
Yeah, it is. But this technology scares the devil out of the parole boards because everything that comes along favors our position that the unborn child is a living human being from the moment of fertilization.
Right. This is not just a glob of cells or tissue.
Bunch of tissue, right.
And, you know, this is really dangerous in many ways because this is playing God, for one.
Sure it is.
And this is also, we can grow babies all we want and take their organs if we need to. I mean, how dangerous is that?
Well, they've already talked about that. And when you look at people like bioethicist Peter Singer, and there's a ton of people, he's the one that usually gets most of the flack, but there's a ton of these guys out there that will actually come out and say that using birth even as a line of demarcation is wrong, that parents ought to have a certain number of months after birth.
Oh, yeah, even up to a year.
A year to decide if they bond with the baby or if they're really ready to be parents or not. And if not, they can have that baby euthanized.
Right, yeah.
Well, the kind of person that takes that position, and they, by the way, they're all pro-choice. That's their position on abortion. And naturally so. No pro-life or whatever take this sort of position. But if that's their position, then the idea of growing a baby for parts makes perfect sense. And they'll come out here and say, okay, let's say that a man and a woman have a baby that's got a heart condition. But they could have another baby, create another baby.
Well, they do that with IVF.
Right.
There was a story the other day. It's been some time.
Specifically for the purpose of producing a heart. And their argument would be, look, this baby otherwise would not have been produced at all. So it isn't like we're killing something that God intended. Well, first off, if the pregnancy occurs, I don't care what you did. If the pregnancy occurred, then God intended it. That's the biological reality.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. The kind of people, this is what happens when a country legalizes abortion, is you destroy the morals of even people out here like Peter Singer, who may have never had any morals, that'd be more likely, but let's say a guy like this who claims he's the head of bioethics at Princeton University, a premier university in the United States, and he's the head of bioethics there, and he says parents ought to have a certain number of months after birth to decide if they bond with the baby, and if not, you can have him euthanized, have the baby euthanized. So he would go along with, like you're saying, that you would grow a baby specifically for the purpose
of just taking the
taking
parts.
the heart. And they would even say, well, look, and you can grow it to a certain point, and even if the baby that you're needing the heart for, his eyes are okay, but maybe another baby can use the eyes out of that baby, and another baby can use the lungs, and another baby can use the liver. And I mean, there is no stopping these people.
It's like vultures going in and picking and picking.
They're picking the bones. These people, I get a lot of flack for saying it. These people are evil, and some of them are sick. I mean, some of these people, I think they're sociopaths. I've always said abortionists, the guys who do abortions are sociopaths. Some of these people are, and these people that are talking about doing these sort of things like you're talking about here, they're ghouls. I don't care what else you say about them. They can cloak it in compassion all they want to, but it's not compassionate to intentionally kill one human being to harvest their parts to put into another human being. And we railed against the Chinese a few years ago when it was revealed, and I suspect they probably still do this, that when they use the death penalty, they select who's eligible for the death penalty based on what parts they need. So if they've got a demand for hearts, and they've got some condemned prisoners that have one of them has a good heart, they might pick him out to be executed and then take his heart. That's no different than what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a bit different. And we sit here and get angry with the Chinese. the Chinese haven't done anything that we don't do. I mean, just think about it for a minute. So, you know, and it kind of goes back to what you've heard me say many times. I get so, not angry, but in a sense angry, with all these people that go out here and say, God bless America. You see bumper stickers, God bless America. We're asking God to do something that is outside his nature. We should be asking him to forgive America. And we should be repenting and asking him to forgive us. And then once he forgives us, then we can ask for his blessing. But to sit here and say that we're going to be doing all of these things, we're spitting in God's face, and then in the next breath saying, oh, by the way, give us all your blessings. We want all your blessings. But we're spitting in your face and doing all these things. Anyway, that's the news for today. We're pretty much done. Don't get me on my soapbox anymore, and I already am.
That's okay.
You see me on my soapbox, what, 10, 15 times a day?
Maybe.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Don't worry. I've seen you in your soapbox, too.
I know.
Right.
I know. Believe me.
Anyway, that's all the time we have. You have anything else?
Yeah, just go ahead and, I know this is so repetitive, but if you have any suggestions for shows, let us know. We would definitely take those into consideration.
Absolutely. If you have any questions, comments, you know, you like us, you hate us, whatever you think.
You like us.
We can handle it. Well, not necessarily. They might like me. There might be some of them that.
Yeah, they're kind of iffy on me.
Yeah, no, I think they probably are. Okay. Anyway, also, I want to remind you, Life Dynamics is a donor-supported organization. We really need your help on donations. We're going through some difficult financial times. I've written about it in some of the letters that we've sent you guys, and we could really use your help on donations. And you can donate to us online. There's all kinds of ways to donate. You can donate here on Facebook Live. Can they still not do that?
No, they can. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So we really need your help. We're going through some difficult times. And mainly, we've got a lot of really neat projects that are just sitting because we don't have the money to do them. Some things that could really be dynamite. And we've got some that we have got the money to do, and we'll be bringing you up to date on those in the future. So anyway, and some of them we've already talked about.
Yeah, and if you want to get our newsletters or our appeal letters, you can call us and we can put you on our mailing list.
Right.
The number is 940-380-8800. It's on the screen.
Yep. Just give us a call and we'll be happy to put you on the list. But again, we do need your financial support and we need your prayer support. I mean, this is at its core, this is always going to be a spiritual battle. But there are pragmatic ramifications to it. And one of those is we have to have the financing to do the things that we do. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Until next time, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win because winning is how this killing will stop. We'll see you next time.